just different.
Hey there, everybody. This is industry business coach Steve Gomez. I am live here on Monday. It's July the 20th. It's 11 o'clock my time, 2 o'clock on the East Coast. Happy Monday to everybody. We have another productive and focused week ahead for all of us. Since I talked with you last, we've had obviously a shutdown in the state that I live in, and a myriad of other things occur in our industry that we'll jump into today. But I'm very honored to bring these two amazing and beautiful souls on with me today. I'm joined by Rodrick Samuels and Lauren Moser, the co-owners of Hair Lab Detroit. And I got it. It's such a long name for me. I mess it up. Hair Lab Detroit Beauty Academy. Did I get it right?
Close, but no gold star.
Okay, silver star, right?
Silver star. But you get an E for effort. But Hair Lab Detroit Barber School, a Taylor Andrews Academy.
Thank you. I knew Academy was in there somewhere. Yeah. I knew. All right. Very good.
Shout out to our Taylor Andrews family.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Our good friend Larry Curtis, a mentor in this industry and a good friend. We all go way back with him. So a big shout out to you, Larry, your big heart, who you are and what you do. This is a new show that I'm going to be doing, sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, depending upon schedules, called certain times call for uncertain times call for certain leadership. Happy Monday.
It's all good. It's all good.
And I came up with this because we're at a unique crossroads in our world with a pandemic that we won't see again in our lifetimes, let's hope. And with really a powerful message of equality and activism that continues to go on in our country, but that one conversation at a time makes a difference for. I'm committed to continue that conversation on a regular basis, and I'm glad that you two are here to really talk all things equality and all things industry. But for those people that maybe are meeting you for the first time and don't know you two, I'd love for you guys to share your professional background first, so anybody watching can get that context, and then how you two met and fell in love, because I love a good love story. And what better day than a Monday to start with some love. So Lauren, share a little bit of your professional background.
So I've been in the industry now 22 years. I did an apprenticeship at an Aveda salon, actually. So in Michigan, what that looks like is the apprenticeship is 2,000 hours and 2 years. So that replaced what normally would be cosmetology school. For me, it was a great opportunity for me to train while I was working. And then I got real life experience behind the chair as I was being trained. So it was a little bit different of a background, but I feel like because I trained under the people that I trained under, it made me who I am today. And so I was taught to have a certain level of work ethic and a certain level of commitment to the service industry. And it's sort of been the foundation of everything that I've done since then. So that work ethic kind of is a make it or break it in this industry. And, we say that all the time, we're in the people business. So yes, you can be not amazing at doing hair, but if you're a likable person, people will attach themselves to you and continue to come back and pay you until it's right. So for us, that's such a big part of who we are and what we teach. And I'm just grateful I got the start that I did. And, I've had an interesting career. I sort of started just coloring hair, and then I went into cutting, and then my sister's got curly hair, so I went into the curly business and then specialized in textured hair. So, as I got good at that, the curls got tighter and tighter and tighter, and I found myself with a whole different clientele soon. So it's been a great journey. It's allowed me to enter NAHA in the texture category, and I've been nominated 3 times and won once, which, we'd like to make that more than once, but, we just got to keep pushing through.
Love that. Love that.
It's been a fun journey, and then it led me to this guy. So I'll let him tell his story, and then we'll get into the next part.
Yes. And hello, Kevin. How are you? He's saying hi, folks. Hello, Kevin.
What's up, Kevin?
Thanks for joining. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rodrick Samuels. I mean, this is my third time jamming with you, so I almost feel like people should know who you are, but you never know. We might have people coming on for the first time, so a little bit of your background.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, big shout out to everybody that's watching, sending you nothing but love and positive vibes from D-Town, Rock City, Detroit. My name is Rodrick Samuels, educator, influencer. Someone actually, my friends at the Hair Nerds, put in my title description activist now, so I guess I'll take that title as well. But I wanted to say happy belated wedding anniversary to you. For a lot of people out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of people out there don't know or may not know that you married us a few years back. We're celebrating. Well, we did a couple weeks ago. Our how many years? Third year. 3 years in marriage as well.
3 years.
We're like, what was the date we got married? We're the
Yeah.
It all becomes a blur when you're
Right.
keeping your head down and you working on something important. But I actually kind of got my start being the bathroom barber and the kitchen titian. I used to cut hair and at my grandma's house or at my mom's house and stuff. And I went to college for 2 years, got kicked out, and luckily I had been cutting hair since I was 13, and went to barber school. Wasn't really getting what I wanted out of barber school. Did an apprenticeship, much like Lauren. Her program was 2,000 hours. Mine was 1,920. And finally got through that after failing my state board exam 3 times. But finally got my license. And what that did was it kind of like it fueled a fire underneath me about education and how important education is in our industry. And although my apprenticeship was amazing, I still didn't get a lot of the components that I really, really needed to be successful in the industry, which kind of led to my passion about teaching and my first business venture being opening up my school, opening up my first school from right behind the chair. So I've been afforded really, really great opportunities to travel all over the country to touch lives, or like I like to say, shaping heads and shaping lives. And it's been phenomenal, man. And I really hope that a lot of the young folk that may be watching this broadcast understand and know that there's so many other opportunities than just working behind the chair in this industry, as long as you do what's expected of you, and really kind of make the most of it. So. Speaking of education, this young lady reached out to me years and years ago about teaching one of my classes. She was flirting with me at first, trying to get a brother digits. You feel me? And no, to be honest.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, to be real. She reached out to me and, we set up something and we didn't speak for over a year. And then a year came by again and we linked up, and upon meeting each other for the first time, it was kind of like love at first sight, to be honest with you. And we've been kind of, we've been linked at the hip from that point. So and we're going on.
It was 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago. I think so often people don't consider enough that your values and work ethics match.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when people aren't happy, it seems like there's just like, you might have a little bit in common, you might have all these things going for you, but unless your drive and your work ethic match, it's always going to be a struggle. We're back.
Yeah.
I think for us meeting somebody that had that same drive and morality and work ethic, it really sort of was a catalyst in allowing us to fall in love so quickly. We just saw something in each other that we hadn't seen before. It's a totally different story when you have a partner that supports you because they believe in you and because they want better for you and because they also feel the same way. So I think that was sort of a big deal for us. And the fact that we've been able to build this whole thing together over the course of the last 8 years, it's been triumph and tragedy for 8 years, but we've remained close and gotten closer through it instead of the opposite. So, I think for us, that was the big difference.
And you guys have continued to evolve your brand and your company in many different iterations. And you two obviously fuel each other creatively as well. You're constantly entering competitions on an international level, not just here in the States. You both have won. So how much has your relationship with each other fueled your creative imagination, Rodrick?
I think that, a lot of people look at this beautiful young lady and they see her and she's stunning and she's smart and everything. But what a lot of people don't realize about my wife is that she too she's very competitive. Not just in business and stuff like that, but I mean, she can definitely be, she can be a force to be reckoned with when it comes down to competition and things like that. So, initially when we started entering competitions, I'd never heard of the North American Hairstyling Awards. And when we were kind of dating and stuff like that, she would mention this, I want, this NAHA award or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even understand. So, fast forward, a couple of months, I was like, hey, I know this great photographer, why don't you come down to South Carolina and we'll shoot it? And, I'll pick, because I was, I'm still trying to court her at the time. I'm like, yo, it's nothing, I'm making it rain. Really, I had a shoestring budget at the time. Luckily, I had a good friend that was a photographer. And, her first time entering was the first time she actually got nominated for an award in texture. So I think that kind of goes without saying that, when you looking for somebody relationally, if that person's not pushing you to get towards your dreams, I guarantee you they're not pushing themselves to get towards theirs. So it kind of goes hand in hand relationally when you are when you work together. Like we work together, we're raising our children together. Like we still, I mean, there's times where we can literally be right next to each other when we worked in the salon for 8 to 10 hours a day and never speak to each other. But at the same time, we get home and we bring that together and it's like, hey, how was your day? What's going on? And I think a lot of people in our industry, unfortunately don't have that from their partners and from the people that they may be married to or dating or whatever the case may be. And not that we're perfect by any means, but I really can say that I'm really, really happy that we actually, our lives kind of came together and we did meet each other, because some of the things that I was able to accomplish, some of the things that I was able to do, I know, and I'm not trying to be soft or anything like that, but I know that for myself, I could not have done it without her support and her love.
It's okay to be soft. It's okay.
No.
It's okay. It's all good, baby. A little soft creates a lot of strength, baby.
I don't care what people say or how the other dudes may talk about me or whatever the case may be. When you have a good thing, you don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? And opportunities don't go away to go to somebody else. So while I had the opportunity to put a ring on it, I did that, and it's kind of funny. We always talk about our relationships, but every major decision that we've made about our lives as a couple have been at a hair show, right? So when we got engaged, we were in London for the alternative show, which, both she and I have been nominated. And when we got married, of course, we were at the North American Hairstyling Awards.
It would have happened in our room. That was my suggestion.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve.
He said, no, we're not getting married next to your nightstand.
With Elvis.
Yes, no problem. That was not going to happen on my watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, but again, big shout out to you and PBA for making it happen, and it was beautiful. And it's super, super memorable to us each year to know that we have a friend in you that actually helped to unite us. And you and I have been around this world, been around the world once and seen everything twice, but also the love that you have for my wife and just us as business partners and leaders. We greatly appreciate you.
I just want to add, for me, I think that we worked so well because independently we were good, right? Independent of each other, we had a lot of success in business and we had a lot going on and we were very independently happy humans. Mm-hmm. And so when we met, the great thing was that he pushed me to do things that I may not have pushed myself to do, like enter NAHA. I idolized NAHA. I never felt that I was ready. And so, having a partner that says you're good enough and forces you to put yourself out there, I think for us was such a key to our success, you know, and in growing this business. So, but you know, it comes with a lot of really hard conversations, I think sometimes,
Of course.
when you know, you have two really independent, successful humans that come together, you know, you have to kind of meld your things together. And so that comes
Sure.
with a lot of really hard, honest conversations. And I don't want anyone to get it twisted that we have this, like, we do have a fairy tale relationship for sure, but it comes with a lot of, you know, hard work and
A lot of communication, a lot of give and take. You know, anything great is worth working at, you know. And hello, Melody. And by the way, Christy Wolfschiger is saying you two are so cute. Love the support you two have for each other. Love that. That's really cool. Yeah. And you're mentioning something, Lauren, that is a philosophy of mine. I actually wrote a book called Interdependent Leadership, and interdependence is when you have independent people who do crave autonomy and must have their own thing going, who want to be part of something greater and to work with others. That's interdependent. You know, where, you know, I'm over here cool, let me do my shit, but I want to be part of a team. I want to be called on when needed. You know, I want to ask for your guidance when I need it. That's interdependence. And that's really what you were describing. You know, we were talking before we jumped on here that, you know, when you fall in love with somebody, you fall in love with that human being. You fall in love with their soul. You fall in love with who they are in the world, how they create themselves to be. It's something that you feel, and that resonates. It's how you watch them operate. You know, obviously there's an attraction, but beyond the attraction, there's a depth of being that calls you to be together. You know, and it transcends things. It transcends the color of skin. You know, and it did for both of you. It did for my wife and I. My wife is Latin American. You know, and you know, so it's something that I take personally. I know it's something that both of you take personally. How have you seen the industry or even the society, the community around you engage both of you choosing to marry each other? I'm sure there was a level of acceptance, but have there been conversations you two have had to navigate because of the choice that you made to be with each other?
Honestly, you know, as far as the second part, we haven't, and
that's a good thing.
It is. Yeah. I don't know if it's because it's not something that we I don't know the words. It's not something we focus on.
Right.
You know,
me too.
In my experience, racism happens a lot when you are of a certain race and you don't have dealings or interactions with that of another race, right? So you're left to sort of form your opinion based on what you see in the news or from other people or things like that. So, you know, for us, because we do communicate, right, we are racially different, but that means that we ask questions, right? So if I don't understand something, I'll say to him, I don't understand that, and he'll explain it to me. Or the quote in our house is, could you whiten that up for me a bit? Because I don't know. You know, and then he'll go like, hey, that's your white privilege showing. And so I think white people tend to think they know what white privilege is. And I think from like an abstract sort of notion, we do, right? But really when you start to break down what white privilege is, you start to realize that it's in things that you never would have imagined it being in.
Correct.
So just a quick example. We were talking about, you know, teenagers pull up to a stoplight, everybody gets out of the car, runs around, switches positions, whatever. And I was like, you know what, when you're a teenager and you do that, and he looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I'm like, he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you know, like where you run around, and he goes, yeah, we're black, we don't do that. Yeah. And I'm like,
well, the difference is and here's the thing, in today's times, you get you know, there's a number one, there's a group of black teenagers in a car together. right? There's such thing as driving while black. I've gotten stopped hundreds of times because at the time I had a really, really nice car, and for some police officers, that's normally a sign of someone who sells drugs. Well, I wasn't slanging drugs. I was slanging haircuts. Yeah. But if you see a group of black teenagers jump out of a car at a stoplight at one time, either we're going to get shot at, or somebody's going to get pulled over. You know what I mean?
Like, just going to freak out and assume something.
Well, here's the thing. My mom gave a lot of lessons about being a young black man, and these are things that the school would never teach us, right? Yeah. It was always to respect authority. You have respect for, number one, you have respect for your elders, right? Number one, let's talk grassroots. Number two, you have respect for the law and authority, right? That all comes from home, from being respectful and being mindful. So those things, in my mind, where you see a lot of people like to talk back to the cop and have conversations with police, I don't do that. Not because I don't feel like I can't, but ultimately I respect people. I respect authority. I respect the law. And by no means would I disrespect my mom.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So for me, all these things come together, and when we have conversations with our children about what's going on with George Floyd, the fact that, hey, Parker and Addie, you know what? I may not come home one day because I'm black, period. That's it. You understand what I'm saying? So, we had a conversation this morning with some of our colleagues about having these conversations with our children about what we're doing in the industry to help with inclusion, and to let people know that the level of education they need to provide, whether it be from a beauty or barber school aspect, or even for licensed professionals, you have to make sure you cover all of those bases. You can't call yourself a true professional unless you have an understanding of every hair type and texture. We don't cut color, we cut texture, right? We don't cut ethnicity.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times for us,
what a powerful context right there.
Well, I mean, it is what it is,
And it's always been so important to us to make sure that, we can't control what other people think, but we have conversations with each other. And like I said, it's those tough conversations. And, I'm married to him, so I feel comfortable asking questions that I may not be comfortable asking other people in a very raw way, so that I can get all the information, right? So I think that in order to move forward, white people need to take it on themselves to ask these questions and have conversations about what we're doing to further perpetuate the problem, because I think a lot of people are not helping the situation, and I don't know that they mean to not help, right? I think it comes down to just not knowing that Black teenagers don't get out of the car and run around it and have fun. It's these little things, and if we don't know, then how can we move forward? So
absolutely.
Absolutely. And in the beauty industry, there isn't a lot of crossover. You have white neighborhoods, you have Black neighborhoods, and the salons in those neighborhoods cater to that neighborhood. And as a white stylist in the suburbs, I didn't have a lot of experience working on tighter curl patterns, right? It just didn't exist in my area. So I had to make the decision to go to a different area and train. I had been doing hair already, 15 years, I think, at that point. And I wasn't working on Saturdays, and I offered to assist in an African-American salon, which wasn't just to learn how to do tight curly hair. It was to learn about all of it, right? It was to learn about the culture. It was to learn about the verbiage. The words are different. The descriptions are different. A perm there was to straighten hair. And so I had to learn all of it. But I was willing to put myself in a very uncomfortable position so that I could be a true professional, so that I could handle any curl texture or anything that walked into my salon. I wanted to be able to be the professional and understand the struggle from the other side, right? So it's a lot of questions.
It's great that you're saying this, because one of my favorite heroes in history is Leonardo da Vinci. And there's not a human on the planet that doesn't have access to education to understand that one of the most prolific artists ever, and probably will be number one in a lot of people's circles, is him. And he said that curiosity is what fuels me. I'm curious. He had a prodigious curiosity. The man would go stand out on the moat, on the bridge of the Sforza Castle in Milan at sunset for 3 straight months so he can watch the dragonfly. And he was the one to first notice that the wings were not flapping in unison, but in different cadence to give the dragonfly its ability to fly the way it did. That is a prodigious curiosity. And what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing you share what you did. And anybody can see the picture of you holding your NAHA award and how happy you were. And there was a lot of hard work that went in to that shoot and to every shoot that you do and that both of you do. But that award represents your curiosity for the industry, for all different types of hair types and how to work with them. And, the average person wouldn't know that 15 years in, you chose to give up your Saturdays, and having children and all, to go and assist because of that curiosity. It's that level of commitment and passion about something that lends itself to getting the awards, right. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us.
Well, there was a couple reasons that I did it. What had happened was we had a client come into the salon, and she was an African-American client, and she asked for twists. And because I just didn't have experience with that and in that world, it hurt my heart to be able to have to look at her and say, I can't help you. It hurt my heart to have to stand up and say, I'm embarrassed to say that as a hair professional, I can't help you. And I vowed for it to never happen again. But I knew that a 1 hour, a 4 hour, a 2-day class wasn't going to cut it. I had to immerse myself in that culture for multiple days, for multiple weeks, for multiple months, to be able to fully understand not just what the terminology was, but the psychology that goes behind it. Black women and Black men, but Black women especially, have been oppressed in terms of their hair since the beginning of time. So they feel like they're not professional if it's not straightened. They feel, that they can't be themselves. So for me, it was more about understanding all of it, right? The terminology and the mental anguish and the oppression and all of it, so that I knew that I could coach them through whatever it is we were doing. And that required more of me than a class. It required me to put myself in an uncomfortable situation for long extended periods of time. And I did that. And, I would call, he was living in South Carolina, and I, was just really like, am I doing this good? Am I doing it right? I want to be really sensitive because I am coming into their space, and I don't want to ask a stupid question or come off as, my white privilege showing, right? Like I wanted to be really sensitive to that, because we have to take that on, and we have to take on that responsibility because it's only ours.
I love what you're saying, because, the more questions you ask, and this is the business coach in me coming out, the more questions you ask, the more you're grounded in somebody else's experience. And from there, you can build a bridge where needed to have them get the context or the view by which you see the playing field. I for about a 4 or 5 year stretch, I spoke at the Bronner Brothers show, and you come up with your class titles and you're going to teach on various topics. But one of the things I did was I would say, okay, I'm here. I would introduce myself, share why I've earned the right to be in front of the room. Here's what I'm going to teach today. However, let me engage your community and how your community relates to this topic, so I understand how you see it and what you're going through, so then I can marry my content to what you're going through. Because if I don't do that, then I might spend the first 20 minutes on a topic that's not relevant to the need. And I think that's what I'm hearing you say is, we have to seek to understand more. And, obviously with the death of George Floyd and the vigorous protests and efforts that brought about, that fueled the conversation. It seems to me that the conversation, that crest of conscious dialogue, it's still there in the news. You still see news cycles bringing people on and talking about it, and I'm happy to see that. From an industry standpoint, it seemed like, Rodrick, you were like on the talk show, the talk show circuit for a couple of weeks there, right?
And I still am, man.
But where is it at now? Do you feel the focus? And I asked you this question before we came on, and I'm going to ask it again because I think it bears making a very important point. Where are we at right now? Do you feel that the focus is still high, or do you feel that it's waning?
You know what? I think that for most things, especially, between the pandemic and the killing of George Floyd, we have these ebbs and flows, right? Everything ebbs and flows. But what I can honestly say about the movement to bring forth more inclusion in our industry, the movement to make sure that beauty and barber schools are equally as educated in all textures of hair, it's really fallen on deaf ear right now. One of my mentors told me, a couple of weeks back, he said, Rodrick, you know what? While you and Lauren actually have the platform right now, you have to continue to use it. It's going to be exhausting. It's going to be toiling. But if you don't take this opportunity in the lifetime of that opportunity is going to die. And I believe that it's slowed down a lot. One thing that I can honestly say about a lot of people in our industry is, we're artists, so people get bored very, very quick. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't understand the African American mind as it comes to how things are perceived and how we can only go but so far unless we actually see some change. We can only go but so far unless we can continuously have the support of our allies, or people who call themselves, notice the air quotation, allies, in pushing this forward. I said it before and I'll say it again, KTSE. Yep. We have to keep the same energy, which that's the acronym for keep the same energy. The energy that we had 4 weeks ago, a month ago, when George Floyd actually got killed, we got to keep that same energy right now because it's starting to die down. I have something to add. I know. I got you, baby. Hold on. I know for myself personally, it's consumed me. But now, as an industry leader, it's now my duty. As you go into the industry, you work from behind the chair, you go into the chair, and then you open up your own shop. You open on your own shop. Maybe you open up another shop, or you go into the school. So now my progression has been from being barber to educator to now advocate. And as my great friends over at the Hair Nerds say, I'm now activist. Yeah, 100%. Because if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
For anything. Yep.
And let's be clear. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And at this point, I still only see a few companies out there, and most of them are my friends. So big shout out to all my peoples out there that's doing the right thing. But most of the companies, number one, they don't understand the African American mindset and how we see what the dive is going on right now. We see that the activity and the experience, the showcasing of African American talent has died down. It's slowed down tremendously. So my prediction actually was right. That a lot of these companies, me and you talked about it candidly. Yep. A lot of companies, they're going to start off with this amazing speed, right? Everybody needs a black friend. Everybody needs to know, who the top 25 black artists are. Everybody needs to know who the top 10 black barbers are, whatever the case may be. And much like you let the air out of a balloon, it's starting to fizzle out. So I want to challenge people right now on this video chat, on this call, keep the same energy. Hey, I'm here. If you need to have a talk, somebody to speak to, somebody to consult with, I'm here. My wife's here as well. the last thing that I wanted to kind of point out, we talked about education and how Lauren actually went through to get more education so that she can understand, number one, the African American culture, how beauty is viewed from the African American culture, to really dig in and hone her skills and her understanding and knowledge about this amazing fabric of hair that we call Afro textured hair. Unfortunately, most people and artists and educators who look like me, we've had to teach ourselves how to, or continue in our education to cut straight hair, right? So you can send me anywhere on God's green earth. It doesn't matter to me. People ask me, what kind of model do you want? I'm like, do they have hair? It doesn't matter what their skin color is or what their texture of hair is. I can cut it, I can shape it, I can do whatever. Most of our white counterparts, the white educators that are out there, they're a one-trick pony. You see what I'm saying? And this is where the divide needs to stop. If I have to improve my value as a Black man, as a Black artist, as someone who wants to be taken seriously in this industry, and I've been told before, you cannot enter Black models into NAHA. It won't work. Now, luckily, it's changed, it's gotten better, but here's the thing. As a Black artist, I can cut every texture of hair. Most of your white artists out there, one trick pony, straight hair, give me a straight hair, give me a model, make it a man, and I'll be fine. We have to stop that. There needs to be something in place to where if you're not a master of your craft, if you cannot do any and every texture of hair that's out there when you do a show, maybe pull a card. I'm not sure, but I just know that it's really, it's a challenge a lot of times for African American barbers and stylists that want to go into education and need a platform. If they don't do both textures of hair, they won't make it.
Well, and moving forward, the races are mixing and we're seeing more and more biracial people. And so if you're not joining this conversation, you're going to be left behind. I think for me, the biggest issue in all of this, when this started, is that you have the companies that have always featured Black artists and Black models and then you have the companies that never have. And all of them reached out to him, all of them, whether they have done it before or if they haven't. Now, the companies that have always done it are continuing to do it because they've always done it, right? And this made sense. My issue lies with the companies that never have, and basically all they did was show that they have Black friends and think that that's enough. And it's not enough. Like, there needs to be education. We need to talk about the history of Black hair and what it stands for and what it represents so that we can start to understand all of it from a deeper level so that we break down these racial divides. That's the only way to do it, is to educate on all of it. Not to put him on a poster and call him your Black best friend, but let's talk about Black hair over the last 100 years and politically what it stood for and emotionally what it represents so that we can break these barriers down and grow as a whole community. These companies aren't putting Black faces in their campaigns. They're still not, there's been no announcement like, oh, we're bringing on so-and-so to be our
liaison.
Right. So, I mean, it's great.
I love you.
The dog and pony show is great, but it's not progressive. It's not fixing the problem. So the companies that have always been the problem are continuing to be the problem. I'm not a large conglomerate.
I'm not a large manufacturer. I don't have, 100,000 followers, but I'll continue to use my voice and I'll continue to think of ideas. And one I just thought up right now, Rodrick, what if you put together the top 20, and I don't care, 20, 25, 30, the top 30 African-American educators that you respect. And let's do, I don't know if you guys have ever read those magazines. American Express would sometimes take famous people and you're reading the magazine and it's like a Q&A of things about them. But what if we did that where it's a little Q&A, but let's also do some advertising of those educators so that whether it's a Zoom or for states where education is okay to start again live, that those educators need to be marketed. So I'd be willing to work with you on this project so that we can put the word out to the rest of our industry that follow and know us. here's some people that if you say you want to learn more so that you are truly multicultural in your business, then here's the educators that need to come on and Zoom teach your team. Here's the person that you need to fly out and have come in to your salon, because you're not this big team. And there's, it's from a, I have to preface it by saying, if you got 50 people and you're trying to squeeze everybody in one place to have an educator come in right now with this pandemic, not the time for that. But if you're of the right size that you can social distance everybody and bring somebody live, I'll be going somewhere in August, as long as I don't have to be quarantining there for 2 weeks to get there. Coming from my crazy state right now, I'll be there. But let's put a spotlight on the talent that's out there, and let's shine it in a way that's productive. So, hey, people can put their money where their mouth is. One thing to say, I need to bring this education. We are a white salon, but we need to learn it. Okay, here's 30 artists for you to choose from. Let's go.
You know what? I think you know what though? That's probably one of the best ideas that I've heard coming out of somebody's mouth. And here's the deal. I think that
took me 2 months.
Well, here's the thing. Not only do we feature and showcase these people, but let's get them a headhunter. Yeah, let's get them a job. Let's get them in front. Let's get a headhunter that says, you know what? Let's put these people. Let's get these people working. Because here's the thing. For years, African American people, artists, educators, we've done things on credit, Steve. Credit.
We're happy to be there.
Happy to be there, right?
Okay.
And
I get that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we, as Black educators, we think that we're getting our foot in the door, but in actuality, it's just like the plantation.
Well, or we see, great that you put all these Black artists on a flyer, but you're not hiring them. So once again, you're using the color of their skin to make you look good, and that's where I was getting so mad. And I had a lot.
I get it. We've always, as a business educator, we've always had to fight the very similar fight. And I know, Rodrick, you've taught some classes for business, that it's been the same thing, like, okay, don't just bring me in because I'm going to make you guys look better. But, I'm unwilling at this point in my career to just come do some freebie. It's not going to happen. Like, I've earned the right to get the paycheck that an artist, all right, 25 years of experience. I got 25 years of experience. Should be an equal playing field, right?
But the sad thing is, though, Steve,
I'm going to teach technique. So we got to do the same thing.
Well, the sad thing is, you and I both can have 25 years of experience. You and I both can have very, very similar backgrounds. You and I both can have, accolades and this amazing track record and all this other stuff, but you'll get 2 or 3 looks before I get one.
Yes, it just by the mere color of the skin.
100%. I had a conversation a few weeks ago about hiring practices within the major companies, and for some odd reason, if in fact there is some type of hiring or whatever the case may be, nobody's telling anybody how to be better. Right? Let's say if I apply for a job or a position or whatever the case may be, and I've been headhunted several different times by several major companies, and I would just not get a response back, right? So it's almost like a client when they get a bad haircut. If you build a relationship with people, dissolve the fear. Okay, if you build a relationship with people, because we're in the people business, we're not in the hair business, we're in the people business. When I need to get some information as to why I'm not qualified for this job, or what can I do to be better, so if an opportunity like this presents itself again, how can I be in the running? Nothing. Silence. Zero. That has to change.
Yes.
And beyond that, these Black artists need to feel confident in requesting the day rates they deserve, because we've had that conversation a lot, and I look at him and say, why would you lowball? Like, you deserve to have this as your day rate, but I think it's that whole, like, but will they use me? And, and it is fear, and it's just not okay. I mean, it's not okay. And we as white people should not be okay with this. Companies should not be okay with this.
Should not. No, I emphatically agree with that. Even myself, I've been invited to come to shows, and I was like, well, here's my day rate, knowing full well that they weren't going to use me then, but I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do that because, I'm worth this. It's the same conversation, that, why are women not being paid the same as men at the corporate level? Why are African American women not getting paid the same as white women in the movie industry? For example, I saw an interview, and I'm drawing a blank on the actress, but she was comparing herself to Meryl Streep. She's like, I'm an Academy Award winner. Now, all due respect to Meryl, but why considered at the same level? Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. Some really nice comments here. Shannon, I love the idea. Outdoor classes with a canopy, those things can happen. There's ways that we can be creative here to get the education that we need. But, Rodrick, we just kind of created an idea together here. So, more to come for those of you that are watching, where we can put a spotlight on African-American educators and really kind of get some good little Q&A as to, what they're an expert at, what their comfort zone is, what they love to teach, what they love about our industry, where their passions are, so we can share
what their day rate is.
Right. Yeah, what their day rate is, that they are for hire, and let's get a movement going.
Well, you know what, Steve? A lot of the conversations, and again, I'm with you 100%, my man, completely. But we also know that a lot of these conversations, they don't go on like this. These are the backdoor conversations. This happens on the golf club, or at the golf club, where it's like, you know what, we need to make sure that we do something that's going to be effective and efficient, and now we need to hire these people. So we can put it on the national forefront. But here's the thing. Unless we as Black artists make a decision, the decision will continuously be made for us, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
We can get the top 30 African Americans, but let's put them in front of people who want to genuinely hire Black. And here's the thing. I want to make sure that what I'm saying or what I'm asking for, it's not a hard ask. It's not a huge request whatsoever. As Black people, as Black artists in the industry, we just want to be normalized. When I think I've had conversations with Ted Gibson, and again, you don't see Ted pulling a race card. You never see me saying, well, I'm not getting hired because I'm Black. I'm willing to put 150% work ethic behind anything that I do, everything that I do, in order to make myself more attractive to people who may want to hire a subject matter expert in barber industry. You understand what I'm saying?
So we don't need a Black artistic team. We need Black people on our artistic team.
Correct.
And I think that's where a lot of the companies go wrong, is they create a Black artistic team instead of putting all races in your artistic team.
Because what that does,
Correct.
It further divides us.
Right.
It further divides us, as an industry and as Black artists. So what we have to do, because I know that you and I think the same way, it's not a matter of if, it's going to be when. We got to make sure that we compile all of these artists that are out there working for these major manufacturing companies, making peanuts literally, and let's put them in front of some people who honestly want to have some inclusivity, some people who
value their voice.
And here's the thing, we're not looking for affirmative action hires. We just want to be equal. We want to be normal.
Meritorious. Your skill set has earned you the right to be here, and that is a very powerful thing. Now, I want to pivot and ask you guys some questions about what we can do at the school level, because I believe that transformation of the industry and how the industry relates to this, there's a unique responsibility. I had the honor of working with Milady for 8 years, and I love the work I did there, because my philosophy is, if you can transform the way somebody thinks right at the school level, not all of them will stick to that thinking. They'll allow the industry and where they get hired to dictate what the reality is. But if we can shift the reality with some people at the ground level, then 20 years from now, we have a changed industry. You two own a school. You co-own it with Larry. You guys operate it. So you're right at the ground level of that. So there's a couple of comments I want to get to, but while I read them, I want you guys to really think about an answer. And I know you got an immediate answer for me, but what are you doing to create change in your school that other schools can be an example of, is my question. Stephanie Forte wrote, this is exactly what I'm seeing hair companies do. Virtue signaling. A beautiful black model, but not specific education on cutting, color, styling, grading, etc. I was in the hair industry as a rep for over 7 years and have not had one class from our distributors specifically addressing different hair types. Dallin Flint, what's up, Dallin? Good to see you, my man. Hey guys, love the combo. It's true. I'm so sick of these companies putting these amazing artists on a flyer and then not giving them a job. It's just making them look good and marketing it right. I think it's time for the educators that work for these companies to call and make it right, hold them accountable. I've made a video calling them out and it ruffled feathers, but it had to be done. Trust me, it's time for a change. I'm with you guys. I love that. Mickey Wright. Hey, Mickey, how are ya? She wrote exactly. We don't need to be divided in a separate section or segregated. I love that, Mickey. Totally agreed. So let's talk about how we can change the industry so that 20 years from now, we have a changed industry by what we're teaching at school. What are you two doing? Even before all of the publicity and all of the conscious dialogues online have come about, what when you two really gestated the school and building it together, what was something that you both have stood for that you're now living into seeing happen from a rate point of view?
For us, this is nothing new. In our salon, we had, he worked there, I worked there, and then we had a biracial stylist. So it was literally like, it couldn't have been more like.
Shout out to Tiara. What's up, girl?
We kept joking that it looked like we hired our kid. But, the great thing about that is that, you would walk into our salon and I would be working on an African-American woman. He'd be working on a white male. She would be doing whatever she was doing. And so for us, it's second nature in the way that we promote, in the way that we behave, in the way that we carry ourselves. And I think first and foremost is your staffing. You start with your staff, because if you have a mixed staff, you're going to draw a mixed client base, whether it's clients or students or whatever. So for us, we own a barber, or we run a barber school. So I think everyone just thinks men's haircuts. We have a sign out in front that we put out every day: men, women, and kids, walk-ins welcome. So right there, we do men, women, and kids, and we're a barber school. So we're not just doing men's hair. In our windows, you walk by and you see all of our professional work that we've shot for over the years for NAHA and any of the competitions, but 50% black models, 50% white models, just naturally, because that's how it worked out when we were coming up with our collections. And so I think a lot of it is messaging, a lot of it is imagery, a lot of it is hiring, a lot of it is who you welcome into your space. So we've never had an African-American client walk in and feel uncomfortable. And we've never had a white client walk in and feel uncomfortable to our school, because we have 50% black students and 50% white students. And we don't say, oh, this black student is going to take care of this black client. Right. We don't care. Right. Hair is hair is hair. So whoever's up next gets the next client. So,
well, even on top of that, when people call to book an appointment, and we are hell bent on this. Hey, yeah, I want to come in for a haircut. Can you put me with a black student? Cut it out. No, listen, we're going to put you in with who's next in the rotation. That's another big thing that's plaguing all of that.
Love that.
Schools and the barber schools, is that the black students only get to work on the black clients. The white students only get to work.
It's easier.
It's easy, right?
And you're educating the client too. You're educating the client in that moment.
It has to be a collective activity. Yeah. It needs to be a very, very actionable request where, you may have a white client that comes in and has never had an experience with a black person, right? So we're teaching innately that, number one, black people are safe. Number two, black people can also cut in color, both straight and afro textured hair.
It goes both ways, because I've had it before where my Black clients never see me before and walk in and go, oh, not her.
Well, it's funny because they'll walk into the salon and they'll see Tiara, who's biracial, and they're like, Lauren. And then, of course, you see my wife's like, hi, I'm Lauren.
Lauren.
But here's the thing. What we're doing, and we've been doing this, like my wife just said, we've been doing this our entire business career. This is what Hair Lab Detroit is really about. It's about being equal. It's about,
you don't hear us talk about it because we don't need to talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the breakdown is happening, is these companies are only talking about what they do, and really they don't do anything. They're just talking. So I think for us, we didn't come out and promote that we do this when all this went down, because it's something we've always done, and we don't feel the need to come out and be like, we've got Black people on our staff and we've got, because it's something that we've always done. So,
and you know what though, Steve, it's because it's the right thing to do.
The right thing to do, yes. So it makes so much sense. It's almost like what we talked about, Rodrick, when I had a friend tell me that he thought that what I was doing was courageous to have, conversations on equality. And to me, it didn't even feel courageous at all. It felt like what I should be doing.
Because you were talking to your friends though, right? Like, these have always been your friends. He's always been your friend. You weren't reaching out to a random Black person and saying like, hey, I'd love for you to talk to me. And that's the difference.
Correct.
Yeah, and every time you've asked me to do something, it's always been very heartfelt. And, you always make sure that, number one, I'm okay with this. You and I talked for 2 days before we even went on the first segment to say, hey, man, how do you feel about this? Is this something that you want to do? Let's make sure that what you want to say, how you want to say it, is very clear and very direct. And I appreciate you for doing that, not just for me, but for tons and tons of other white people who out there who may not understand what we're going through as Black artists, but also the Black people out there that also understand. And I'll vouch for you, my man. If you need an ally, Steve Gomez is that person, 100%.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I got a couple ideas for you too. And I don't know if you've already done it, but I have a couple ideas. We already came up with one, right? Let's feature some African American artists in a way that's very powerful. So we'll work on that project together. But and maybe you've done this, maybe you haven't, but maybe you two need to get somebody where you're both going to be on camera doing a literal live tour of your academy, so that you can show people what you've done, because you talked very eloquently about what you've created. But I believe if you were to shoot a video where you're just kind of walking through while school's in session, people are working with people, things are happening, it's live, but people can see the different images you have up on the wall. People can hear you talking about what you've created, while in the background, I'm seeing it actually happening live in the different unique and beautiful skin colors I see of the students and of the clients. So maybe that would be a really great way to educate other schools out there, if we can get that going viral, as to what they could do, because you've created it. You do it, so it comes naturally to you, but obviously it's not coming naturally to everybody. So, I believe that there's an important visual message that you guys could do. I also think that even writing a class, how to create a multicultural curriculum, and create and implement, and then also how to assimilate a multicultural menu into your business. I think those are two classes that you two would be uniquely positioned to create, that could serve the industry, that everybody can learn from a school level and from a industry professional level. And you know me, I mean, I'm always throwing ideas around. So these things are just coming up as we're talking. So I'm laying it down so we have a place to come back and listen to what the heck we talked about here, so we can hear it again. But what do you guys think about those ideas? And do you think that they're needed?
So, if anybody goes to our Hair Lab Detroit Barber School page right now, we just started a new campaign called Together We Continue. And it shows each and every one of our students, Black, white, LGBTQ plus, AI.
Love it.
It shows how our white students are being taught about Afro textured hair. It shows how our Black students are being taught about straight hair. It shows how our Hispanic instructor is, reaching and teaching all of our student body, whether they be Black and or white. We do have some things in the works as far as.
There's a video there. There's a video there for this.
I think I posted it probably yesterday or today sometime.
What's the website?
It's on our Instagram.
But what's the website too, so people can get.
And if you go to our website, which is hairlabdetroitbarberschool.com, there's a very unique message about Together We Continue. Even with the stuff going on with COVID, in lieu of the George Floyd situation, we're going to continue together. And that's the messaging that we send to our students, is that together, not individually, not about Black or white, together as a school, as a culture, we're going to continue, whatever that looks like, whether it be through toil, whether it be through sunshine, whether it be through rain. Our students understand and know what our level of expectations are, and I'm hoping that through platforms like this, the other industries and schools can also get some feedback as to what they need to do as well. We are working on a project. We can't really disclose that information right now, but we are working on a project to make sure that schools are getting a more well-rounded and well-versed education for all of their students.
And it really does. It does boil down to getting some people of color on your staff. Yeah. I mean, without that, it's all talk. To be really honest with you, without it, you're going to have a hard time painting a picture that you're inclusive if you have an all-white staff. Yeah,
got it. I mean, that makes perfect sense. And I think, creating a professional curriculum, so salons that do see the need for this level of education, assimilation, and their ability to be versed in all types of hair type and hair color makes a lot of sense, so I haven't seen that varied about. Maybe you guys have. I haven't seen anybody saying, here's a curriculum that a salon could say, all right, we're gonna take this curriculum. All of us in the salon are gonna go through this 12-week course.
The thing is, I mean, it's an ongoing thing. It's not going to be a class they take, right? It's going to be get a textured model and start getting your dexterity down. Start practicing with different, again, I assisted this woman for months. And so it's not necessarily a class, but then I took all that and I worked on it on my own, and I practiced, and a lot of hairdressing is dexterity and learning the language of the hair you're working with, right? So, it's going to be one part education. It's going to be one part restaffing. It's going to be one part taking the actual initiative to practice and actually, pardon my French, but give a shit. And, I'm really passionate about this because I feel like everybody sits back on their butts and posts a picture of a Black person or says that they're this or says that they're that, but they're not doing the work. They're not doing the hard work that's behind that. So, a lot of it is just putting yourself in situations that is actually going to change what you're doing. And saying you took an hour class or a 2-day class or whatever, it's going to be a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's not enough.
And
so
that's
this is exactly where I'm going, though. It's not a 1-day class. To me, a curriculum is not 1 day. A curriculum is something that you go on a journey, come out the other side saying that you have an expertise in that, right? So that's what I'm saying. The 3 things that you just said to me would literally have to live in said curriculum. I think you two are uniquely positioned to create something like that, in my professional opinion, because of your experience in the professional arena, in the education arena, in the competition arena, and in the school arena. Where there are going to be people where this might come more naturally for you to engage and talk about. There are going to be people out there that maybe want to but don't know how, might be a little nervous about it, might be nervous about how to introduce it to their teams. So I think we need to create a way where if they can say, oh, there's that, and I can go on a 3-month journey and it's going to go through these levels, you know, and it's organized. I think that can create a lot of cultural transformation around this. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with that. I like all of it. I see where you're going. I think I got a little hot for a second.
I love it. Hey, look, if we're not speaking passionately, right, about what we believe in, right? If we're not making that stand, we're not moving the dial. I don't have all the answers. You guys don't have all the answers. I bring you both on because you have more answers with regard to this than I do. So if I can use my platform to have these discourses, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm really good at ideas. And then in some ways, I'm an expert in creating things. You know, even this idea that I came up with, I'm saying, hey, guys, here's an idea for you two because you have expertise here. You know, I can add thoughts and edit and whatnot. I can't write it, you know, but I can certainly think like, wow, to me, as somebody who writes curriculums myself, that would be a really good way to bring about a more long-lasting, transformative journey for people to go down. You know, that really then it's in the cultural DNA of that salon. That's what we need, I think, in some way, shape, and form.
Well, you know what? It's coming. It's coming. You know, like I said before, you know, we can't disclose too much information right now, but we are working on something, and you know, you know, my hopes and prayers are that it'll come to fruition very, very soon. And you know, we'll be knocking on your door as well when we need that editor's eye and that assistance and stuff. But yeah, you're completely right. There's a lot of really good ideas out there. There's a lot of good strategies out there, but all these ideas without implementation, they're just
absolutely dreams. Have to be implemented.
You know, independent of the whole picture, right? And I think what we run into is that everybody wants the easy fix, the quick fix, the post a picture, look like you're sympathetic, and move on with your life. And that's great, but don't bother, right?
Yeah, feelings only get us so far.
Yeah, don't bother. You're only hurting the effort.
Insight without action was just an insight. Glad you had the idea. The light bulb can get shut off too, right? And you know, and that's exactly what we were talking about. You know, we have to keep these conversations front and center. And those people that feel like, oh, I have to hear this again. Yes, exactly. You do. You're exactly the person that needs to hear it again. These conversations need to continue over and over and over. I read an article in the Atlantic this morning about how that our country should have its third Reconstruction. Mm-hmm. You know, the first Reconstruction was after the Civil War and after the Emancipation Proclamation, and that there was a good 10-year window where the African American could stand in the sunlight. But then about a decade later, Jim Crow showed up, and the inequality continued to rear its ugly head. And then the second Reconstruction happened when Harry Truman desegregated the military, and that, coupled with a decade later, the civil rights movement happening within the 60s, definitely was another Reconstruction that created great movement forward. The election of President Obama was a great step forward in a lot. If anything, symbolically. You don't have to agree with his policy. It's not about politics. It's about the symbolism even of him being elected. But obviously, for us to think that the work was done, we've obviously been smacked in the face with that this year. So we have to continue these conversations in a way that continue to make a difference. And we do have to take action so that an industry that prides itself on being so diverse can actually be that way from top to bottom. You know, that's why I'll continue to talk about this stuff. And I appreciate you two spending time with me today. Any final thoughts? Because we got to wrap up. I got a coaching call to jump onto here shortly, so we got to jump. But closing thoughts. I'll start, of course, ladies first.
Closing thoughts. Well, I appreciate you having us on. I know we went a little dark. We're having our computer almost died and I had to unplug a light to plug our
That
computer.
just means we have to focus more really on you guys. That's good. Everybody who's watching can focus.
As an interracial couple, I think our biggest obstacle to overcome is lighting and filters. I'm kidding. We always get lighting where I look like I have no features and it doesn't work out. But I appreciate you having this conversation. Like I said, it goes a lot deeper than putting your Black friend on your flyer and making you look good. So we appreciate that you've always been our friend and that you've always been a part of our life and that you are having this hard conversation, not because it makes you look good, but because it's necessary. And I challenge manufacturers, I challenge salon owners, I challenge school owners, hire Black people into your company and watch what happens. I think that it needs to start there. You can have all the inclusivity training in the world, but unless you're willing to walk the walk, it's just lip service, and that's not progression. So, I've had a rough time with it the last couple of weeks, watching him, be everyone's token and not get paid and not be offered any, compensation for his time. It's all about what he can do for them, and that's hard. So, I think let's just keep having these hard conversations and, white people ask questions, even if you're not going to like the answer. Ask about white privilege, because I promise you don't know what it is in its full effect. And we as a race need to do better about learning and understanding other races, of all races.
Amen.
And, it's not about us.
Love that. Rodrick.
In closing, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that education in our industry is not an option. It is a must. And just make sure that if you have seen a decline in the messaging and some of the things that we've made an honest effort to push forward, let's continue to keep that same energy. We need to definitely look into hiring some more Blacks in leadership. And again, and I had this conversation a few weeks ago. It's fine to want to have a seat or to open up to the Black community to see what their ideas, and everybody's hearing and listening, right?
Yep.
But nobody is allowing us or offering us a seat at the table. Everybody wants the information, but nobody wants to have that sit down and actually start to hire some people. So much like my wife said, I want to challenge salon owners and school owners and some of our other organizations as well. Let's continue to keep that same energy. And if we can be of any service to anybody out there, whether it be from an educational standpoint, she specializes in curl. I specialize in men's grooming as well. She specializes in the salon management, business dev stuff. I've specialized in schools. So every facet of the industry that you probably could have questions to, the questions about, we're going to make our biggest effort to have answers for you.
Love that. And you guys, thank you for your time. Before I wrap up, when I end, just stay with me until we're out. I really appreciate and love you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your busy schedule to be here with me again today. Rodrick, this was our third jam now. Won't be our last. Lauren won't be our last. No. I'm going to continue to have these conversations. My commitment is, every couple of weeks, every 2-3 weeks as my schedule permits. I'm going to continue to have these dialogues. I think they're important. And as I continue to have them, it brings it up to consciousness where it needs to be. We're only as good as the conversations we have. And we're one conversation away from transforming something. We're one conversation away from being wiser. We're one conversation away from being emboldened to act upon something. So we will keep the conversations going. I'm certainly going to follow up with you guys about some of the ideas that just kind of came up in this conversation that I'm inspired about, and we will keep it going. For anybody else out there, you can be the change yourself. Go have the conversations. If you are an owner in this industry and you have a team of people, I don't care if it's 1 or 100 that work with you. Notice the languaging, not for you, that work with you, that trust you with their livelihood. go and have a conversation with your team. Find out from them what they want to learn, and how they want to move, and getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that is uncomfortable that you've never done before is going to make you better at everything else you do anyways. So this should already have been happening to begin with. And let's continue to have our voice there. Last thing I'm going to share while I'm live with everybody today, I'll be live again on Wednesday. Let me look at my schedule right quick so I don't give you the wrong time, everybody. Wednesday no, I'm not in August. I'm jumping ahead of myself. There I am. I'll be live Wednesday at 1:30 my time, 4:30 Eastern, with my good friend Nikki Tobridge. We are going to be jamming on 10 critical ways that you can continue to ride this pandemic wave, because it's going to be wave after wave after wave. We're seeing that here in my state being shut down again last week. So Nikki and I have been going back and forth and talking, and we've got a real good hour to hour and a half planned for you guys this Wednesday. So please tune in right here on said Facebook page. Love you too. Have a focused and productive week, everybody. And be mindful of who you're with and how you're with them, and be mindful and appreciative of what you have. And we'll see you Wednesday. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Sending love to all of our stylist friends out in California. We love you guys. Hey, stay strong. All right, we got this.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Everybody out here needs it. It's been a little bit of a shit show. We are now the petri dish for the rest of the industry to watch. And we've got some salons choosing to just stay open because they're desperate, and if they close, they're going to close for good. We've got others that are lobbying Capitol Hill in our state to be able to do hair outside. So a lot of activity going on right now. So thank you for the love and support. Everybody out here needs it. And, watch what's going on here, because if the numbers continue to go the way they are, it's going to happen in other places. It's just eventual. So think that way so you're not shocked and upset and surprised. Be a leader and have contingency plans now. That's what Nikki and I are going to be teaching on Wednesday. All right, everybody, we got to jump. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Stay focused. Be mindful. Rodrick and Lauren, stay with me. I'm going to end it now. Take care, everybody.